All right, Richard, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for joining everybody. Thanks for taking the time today to discuss about power and cooling. Today I'll be hosting, I guess, as well as presenting at the beginning, and then we'll bring on APC, John from APC, and then from CyberPower we have Jesse and Jeff presenting afterwards. So I wanted to just essentially take the time today to discuss about power and cooling. It's not the most glamorous topic when you're dealing with an IT room, but it's a necessity, right? Nowadays, when we see rooms getting larger in terms of density within a rack, items are getting much more power hungry as AI is getting more involved. Even with power over Ethernet, networking devices can start drawing a lot more power, right? And that's when we have to take into account the necessity of power protections, battery runtime, as well as cooling of these devices, right? Maybe back in the day, occupancy cooling was sufficient for most customer needs, but as power density increases, white space availability gets smaller, it becomes much more difficult to manage and the power and cooling of a room, right? So we have to take these things into consideration when designing any type of IT room, network closets, even small network racks on the wall itself, right? We have to take these things into account to ensure that the longevity of your devices is at its peak, right? So some things to consider, right? So today I just want to discuss about what available services you have at your disposal at CDW. So again, my name is Richard Fong. I am the APC and Schneider Solutions Specialist at CDW. I support Canada nationally from a power and cooling and support. So any type of power and cooling projects that come about through CDW, it usually runs through me to review with customers or even to discuss with our account managers about what the best solutions are. I am part of the modern data center team at CDW. So the modern data center team is solution architects that help customers develop a solution for their needs, essentially, right? So this includes networking, CyberPower. Me specifically, again, I'm specialized in power and cooling. I came to CDW about a year and a half, almost a year and a half now. But prior to that, I was working at DCIM Technical here in Toronto as a Schneider Electric Advanced Solutions partner. And prior to that, I was working for Vertiv. If you're not familiar with Vertiv, they used to be called Emerson, and then before Emerson, they were called Liebert. In those 7 years, I was doing power and cooling data center builds for customers. So I work with engineers and end users to develop IT rooms, data centers, small closets, you name it. I probably have worked in a project of that size, right? So when I came to CDW, my goal was to provide the same level of services I was providing end users and engineers to customers like yourselves, right? CDW strengths are in networking and cybersecurity, but there was a need for power and cooling because, as I mentioned before, as networks grow, power devices get more power hungry. There's always a need for power backup, battery backup, as well as cooling, right? So there was a need at CDW to provide that level of support to our customers. And essentially, you can consider me as like a free power and cooling consultant. Reach out to your account managers. They'll reach out to me, and we can work together and start walking you through what the best solutions are for your power and cooling needs. So some items that you may not know that we can help you and assist you on are single and three-phase UPSs. So these ranges from small desktop UPSs to short depth UPS that fit in a wall mounted rack, to standard rack mount UPSs ranging from 1 kilowatt to 10 kilowatts, even three-phase UPSs from a small one that being your small IT room, that's starting at 10 kilowatts, up to 1 megawatt UPSs for pretty much like your co-locations or your large data centers, right? So feel free to reach out to ask more questions. I've been asked questions about random power and cooling questions, and I've been able to help customers at least guide them to the right directions. Even if we don't have it in-house, we can always guide you to the right direction or the right people to help you with that. For example, a customer was inquiring about a container-sized data center because they ran out of space within their building. They needed a shipping container, and we were able to assist at least put them in the right direction, at least give them a budget number, give them an idea of what that would entail to make, right? So even niche products like that, like a environmentally protected server rack within the middle of a warehouse, right? There are different applications for power and cooling needs, and feel free to ask, and we were able to assist you in any way. Again, going back to cooling, we can help you in critical space cooling. This includes cooling within the rack itself, in-row cooling, wall-mounted, ceiling-mounted, perimeter cooling. Feel free to ask us and we can lead you in the right direction in terms of what the best practices and what the new standards are out there, right? Because a lot has changed over the last 10 to 20 years. IT devices have become much more robust. So things like humidity control is not as important nowadays. Back in the early 90s and 2000s. So a lot has changed in terms of standards within the IT room. So to ensure you're up to date in your design builds, feel free to reach out to us and we can always discuss about that. Another thing we specialize in power distribution and rack accessories. So power distribution is a wide-ranging category, right? So we're talking about busway systems over racks to distribute power to your racks, to large power distribution units to distribute the power through cables to the racks itself, or as small as just having just this standard rack PDU to UPS, right? It may sound simple enough, but with different voltage standards out there, current standards out there, even connector standards, there are different ways to power your IT devices. IT devices nowadays usually have a power supply on the back, usually two. Most customers usually have two for redundancy, but those power supplies range from 100 to 240 volt, right? Most customers don't even know that, right? So there's different ways to optimize your power and cooling, or specifically your power, to get better efficiency, lower loads on your actual, or lower stress on your power supplies of your IT devices, which leads to longevity and different ways to simplify as well as maximize your equipment, your power needs there, right? So again, a lot has changed over the last 10 to 20 years. So feel free to reach out if you have a server room refresh you're doing, moving your server room, or you just want to have a general assessment of what your room are, right? Feel free to reach out to your account managers and CDW, and we're able to help you and assist you on that, right? And then going back to rack accessories, we can always suggest different types of racks and accessories that fit there, right? Because there's never a one-size-fits-all solution for any customer. So we try our best to provide the best solution that fits the customer's needs, right? And next, we kind of specialized in environmental monitoring, right? So for example, APC has a product called NetBots, which is used for, as was listed there, environmental monitoring, right? So you may have network cards in your IT devices to monitor your switches and your servers, power loads and whatnot, but the room itself sometimes needs environmental monitoring itself, right? So for example, if your room is cooled with just your standard building cooling, which is called occupational or not occupational, occupancy cooling, that is not really designed for a data center or server room cooling. So that the building cooling is pretty much tailored to when people are in the building, right? Weekends, nobody's in there, so cooling is dropped, temperatures rise in the room itself. you may not even know about that unless you're actually monitoring. So environmental monitoring is sometimes important because it gives you an idea of what's going on with your IT room. So it could be temperature, humidity, security in terms of cameras, ID, getting in and out of the room itself, who opens and closes the rack doors, and even leak detection, right? So you can have leak sensors on above, below the racks, right? If you have active cooling within your room itself, water detection is very important because you don't want to know last minute about any type of leak just in the room itself. And lastly, we have data center monitoring software. I know John is going to be talking about that next after myself. Data center monitoring is we're seeing a huge trend right now as most companies are starting to cut back on maybe IT employees, right? And then with few employees to manage multiple sites and multiple servers and UPSs and whatnot, right? It can get more difficult. So DCIM or data center monitoring software becomes more useful for IT managers to start managing and monitoring all your devices from essentially from a single dashboard, right? Single device, able to figure out what they need, plan out the future, deploy where needed, and basically organize everything from a nice little box, right? So those are a few specialties that we have at CDW. Again, we are essentially a free power and cooling assessment and consultants, right? So take advantage of that, right? CDW is not just here to just process orders, but we're here to support you in all your needs in terms of assessment and planning in the future, right? So for example, some projects I've worked in the past, some of them were larger data centers in terms of like Bank of Montreal, Ontario Provincial Police, right? Those are large data centers built which had multiple racks, redundancies upon redundancies within a UPS data center, to smaller applications like corrections facilities, which had multiple security server rooms within a certain facility itself, right, to manage and back up their cameras, recording devices, comms as well. So applications in different areas. Feel free to ask. There's no application that wouldn't be something that we can look into, and essentially we're here to help you in terms of trying to find and build the best solution possible for our customers, right? So again, reach out to your account managers about any power and cooling needs you may have, and we're here to support you where we can. Great. Next, we will have John from APC.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Let me just go full screen here. Turn my camera on too. So yeah, thanks everyone for the time today. I wanted to, obviously APC Schneider has a pretty large offering of products inside and outside of the data center or hybrid IT environments. But I wanted to focus on kind of a product line that my team covers called EcoStruxure IT, which incorporates the software solutions that we have for monitoring and management of the end devices, as well as the NetBots product line that Richard just mentioned. So my name's John. I'm based out of Chicago. I've been on the team now for about 6 years, and I cover the central US as well as parts of central Canada when it comes to this offer. So I work a lot with the CDW account managers and Richard and our local feet on the street Schneider Electric APC employees to help essentially figure out what the best solution is from a software perspective. When I joined the team, this type of software was mostly viewed as DCIM, right? The acronym being Data Center Infrastructure Management. Obviously, with the changing landscape of the growing number of edge environments, which can be anything from a couple servers sitting in a closet to maybe a few racks of networking equipment, we've really seen a huge expansion of that edge environment. So we would define the edge as really any place that is getting data closer to the user. So I know like a good example would be, Netflix. If they operated out of one data center, it'd be really hard to get video footage to people accessing it around the globe or even around the country. So they have, regional edge centers that help deliver that data closer to the user. So we see it a lot in hospitals, schools, manufacturing. And what's different now as opposed to 10, 15 years ago is it used to be you would deploy a UPS in one of these environments and you would just kind of set it and forget it. It was very rare that network cards were included in those types of solutions. Now it's pretty much a standard where anytime a UPS that's over 1 kVA is being deployed, it includes some sort of network interface. So obviously now we have devices that might be in a data center. We might have a dozen edge sites, or we might even have hundreds of edge sites, depending on how your organization runs. There's new challenges that are associated with that, and the software group that I belong to, we've really done a good job, even since I joined the team 6 years ago, on evolving the offer to specifically meet these customer challenges that are out there. So just a good example of some feedback we get from, and this is specific to let's say power, so UPSs and PDUs. The question of, are my batteries due? I want visibility into my regional sites. I need a better work-life balance. And then you might have some people that need visibility into all the regions. So our main goal with our software platform is to really help address these pain points along with others. So other things that we've seen pop up in the IT landscape recently is our sustainability metrics, making sure things are operating efficiently. And as you know, with sustainability, it's starting to become a lot more objective than subjective. So saying that you're sustainable is no longer cutting it. Being able to show data points that say, hey, here is how I'm operating, is really what customers are gearing towards. So now we have a bunch of devices that are out there, and I do want to make it clear that this software is vendor neutral when it comes to monitoring. Some of the management aspects are specific to APC gear, but when it comes to being able to monitor and bring things in from other vendors, we've been doing that for over 20 years. So we have a lot of out-of-the-box type connections with other systems and other main vendors. We realize, it's very rare to come across a company that only has their own gear. So our software really looks at our customer footprint, and we want to address these challenges no matter what vendor they have inside of their environments. So looking at UPSs, both big and small, so either a three-phase UPS, a small one that might be a desktop UPS, cooling units. Richard had covered a few different cooling types. So we have, obviously in-row cooling, there's perimeter units, there's wall-mounted fans these days. And then also the environmental monitoring and rack PDUs. So these are all typical devices that we would see either in data centers or in those network edge environments. And when you have, let's say, a mix of these products and you multiply it by the number of sites you have, then it becomes pretty daunting to manage. So that's where things start to come back to this screen here. I need visibility. I need to be able to see what pertains to me. Are my batteries due? Am I doing okay from a power perspective? So really the answer to that, our solution is EcoStruxure IT, and that's at the very foundation of it. We're providing that single pane of glass view, helping customers really get a better feel for not only what they have out there, but how it's operating. And, more importantly, the next step of that would be is, how do you move forward? How do you come up with a future-proof game plan on, if you have a UPS rollout coming up, how can you be most effective in choosing the right units to handle your current environment? So with EcoStruxure IT, I have a few bullet points here, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes just going into a live demo so you can actually see the platform, see what it looks like. At the very core, it's a single pane of glass, centralized real-time monitoring. So any device that has a network card that speaks SNMP, we can do a scan and we can bring those devices in. And then now that you're getting that type of data, now you can start to actually see, okay, where are my trends? What's my health status? So again, this is different than just getting alarms from the devices. If you're just relying on alarms coming through, then your chances are you're probably more in a reactive management standpoint when it comes to these devices. Now, if you're collecting data every 5 minutes and then you're also getting the alarms and you're able to correlate that to what site they're coming from, that's when you really start to get a feel for what can be operating better, where you need to focus, maybe getting replacements and new equipment out too. So I mentioned the vendor neutral visibility, and I can show, some examples of us bringing in third-party gear into our platform. But really the beauty of this platform is the analytics. So what types of things and activities can we start to encourage based on the data that we're collecting? And I'll show some of that in reports, but a good example of that is temperature, right? So if you have a UPS that's running in a room that's 85 degrees, chances are that battery is also running pretty hot. And what that tells us is, okay, you have a battery that is going to be spent a lot quicker than if it were, say, around 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So there is quite a bit of analytics about batteries, about the load in the unit, and then also, comparing that to industry benchmarks. So with our expertise in the UPS landscape and the PDU and cooling landscape, we can take what we learn on the hardware side, apply it to our software, and really give our customers a good action plans on how to move forward. So one thing I want to call out here is also this is a very scalable solution. So we have customers that have a handful of devices that find value in this, and then we have customers that have over 10,000 devices that get good value from this. So this is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It scales based on the number of devices that you want to pull into it, and it's priced accordingly as well. So I just want to point that out. This is not necessarily a tool that's only for customers that have 500 sites and 500 UPSs. It's extremely scalable down to 5 devices all the way well into the thousands. So instead of going over the features on the PowerPoint, I wanted to show you an actual live demo. So part of this is a mobile app. So another challenge that we see in this hybrid IT landscape is around visibility while on the go. So meaning, if you find out there's an outage, but you're not in front of your computer, how can you still get enough information to find out if you need to send someone to that site right now? So the mobile app is meant just for that. So giving you some mobility to look at alarms as they come through, see a dashboard, and then also, dig a little bit into what might have occurred. So we have a UPS alarm here. I can click on it, go into the UPS, see where we're at from a runtime, a load perspective. And then from here, really make an assessment if this needs to be taken care of right away, or if it's something that can be, maybe waited on until the IT person is there tomorrow. So this is just the quick mobile app view. Now, if we go to the web dashboard, this is really going to show us what we're monitoring. This is going to give us a good front end, what I like to call a knock environment view. So we can look at all of our locations that we have built out. And, given that this is a demo environment, we have a lot of simulated alarms as well as a lot of devices that are being moved around. So we do see quite a bit of red on the screen, and we can really hone in and start to see, okay, where do I have health issues? And then from there, you can actually go to that particular site and start to look at their devices. So this will automatically, show you from a visual perspective where your alarms are coming from, show you more information on the alarms themselves, whether it's a temperature. and then give you the power to look at more details. So I can go in and say, okay, looks like this is coming from my Vertiv UPS. The ambient temperature dropped below 15 degrees Celsius, which we have a threshold set for. Here's information on the device, the location, so on and so forth. So now, instead of getting a generic email alarm saying you have, one of your devices is an alert, and then having to decode that and figure out where it's at, when it happened, you have all that information at your fingertips. If we go to inventory, this is just going to give us a list where we can go into different buildings and groups and racks and rows that we have sorted out. And then this is just going to give a view of all your units and kind of how they're running. So if I go into one of our APC devices here, I get a nice overview with the key statistics that we want to look at. I see its runtime. I can go to sensors and see all the sensor values. So if there's ever an event that I need to run a report on, say something like the battery voltage or the battery temperature or the output power, I can select any of these and run a report for up to 4 years of historical data. And then just to show you too, from a vendor neutral perspective, we do have a CyberPower unit pulled in here as well. So you can see that we're also tracking the key statistics of that. And we can see, the key UPS data points that we need to ensure that this is operating correctly. So we have Vertiv, Eaton, CyberPower. We have a lot of other vendors in here besides our own. Just wanted to point that out because it's not a software that's just meant for our equipment. We also have alarming dashboards. So this is critically used by customers to find out, where their problem sites are. So once this is up and running for a couple weeks or 30 days, then you really start to get historical data, and you can go back and look at, where have my alarms been? Have they been happening at certain times of the day or week? Have they been happening on certain devices or sites? And all of this data is continuously collected, and it can also be exported as well if you need to share it with other people. So the last thing I want to go over here is the assessment reporting. So this is really what takes what we've been doing in the monitoring realm of software for 20 plus years and kind of modernizes it to, okay, instead of just giving customers data and having them analyze it and make decisions, how can we get, better equip our customers for what's upcoming in their environment? So you can see we have 5 assessments, everything from looking into alarms that will call out problem devices to looking over trends in load so you can right size your next UPS replacement. And then even looking at the security of the devices themselves. So what we find too is a lot of customers will have UPSs with network cards, and now the cybersecurity team is out there asking, okay, are you up to date with modern security practices? So this will actually look at common threats that we see and basically call out which devices are compliant, which ones aren't, and then give you a recommended action on how you can actually fix that security gap that you have. But really, the flagship assessment we have is going to be with UPS score. So if I go and I look at, once we start doing machine learning on UPSs, we understand what makes them tick, what makes them break, and more importantly, what customers can do to prolong the life and efficiency of the UPS, ultimately protecting uptime and making sure that there's no downtime on the equipment that they're protecting. So this will actually give health scores and then also give insights / recommendations on how certain devices can be improved upon. So we have 4 that are operating at a high battery temperature. These are all things here that typically lead to either the UPS failing unexpectedly or going end of life quicker than it should. So we'll go ahead, call these out, give you more insights into what you can do to fix them. And another thing that we are working on as well is an insight about runtime. So what that will do is once we start to learn about how often each UPS gets kicked onto battery and how long those outages last, we'll actually be able to tell you, okay, we noticed that your AP 9641 here, it's set up for, let's say, 42 minutes of runtime. which is great, but it looks like the average outage that you've had over the last 6 months has actually been an hour and a half. So we're going to start calling out things like runtime as well, just to make sure that you're equipped at certain sites with what you need. So we'll go back to just 2 more quick slides and then we can pass it over. But I just wanted to go over just a quick example of a case study. Again, we work on a lot of these types of projects with monitoring. It really fits into pretty much any vertical out there. So anyone that has multiple devices that they need to monitor, they're lacking visibility, they want more of a proactive stance on handling their power or cooling, really fits into this. But I know Richard and I have worked on a couple of different projects with large education systems. They tend to be a really good example of a customer that can use this platform to its extent. And I think the challenges are pretty common across the board. So going outside of education into different verticals, their challenges were that they had to do a UPS rollout. They understood that they had aging units that they needed to replace. Great. They also were this particular school district had some sort of merger where they were bringing on new buildings. And then they also had old buildings that were being retrofitted with UPSs that, previously did not even have backup power. So that from their perspective, the IT team now had more sites that they had to cover. And all the while, they really had no way to centrally monitor outside of the building that they sat in, which had a small data center in it. So we went down the EcoStruxure IT route. We showed them the ITE tool that I just gave a demo of. They were able to spin up a trial and really get a feel for the tool and how it worked in their environment. And they also had a mixed bag of vendors as well. So that it wasn't just APC. I think they had some Triplite, some CyberPower, and maybe even some Eaton. So it was definitely a hodgepodge of types of devices, but they used our software platform to really give them a good baseline on where they were today. And more importantly, it helped them gear up for where they wanted to be in the future with right sizing, battery replacements, and all sorts of things. So they were able to gain visibility across, I think there was over 50 sites, and each site ended up having, I think, on average, 2 or 3 network closets in them. They were actually able to use the tool as a way to make it a smoother deployment for the new fleet. So they used some of the mass management capabilities we have with APC devices, and that helped cut down significantly the amount of time that it usually takes them to deploy a new unit. And then also when they were looking at this tool, they realized that they were struggling with the ambient temperature. So what they were able to do is in some of their problem sites, they put network cards in their UPSs that had a temperature probe. And that's another data point that they started to collect and get alarms based off of inside the tool. So this was really a rollout for that edge team, but the data center team was also involved, and now they're interested in leveraging a piece of the software to also monitor their gear. So we did get a lot of good feedback. This is a direct quote, but visibility management of our IT infrastructure across the entire organization is something we did not know was possible until now. So again, it's very common for customers to maybe be using different bits and pieces of software, but this really helps get a good grasp on everything from an infrastructure perspective. So I just want to leave it at this. We do have the option to a 30-day free trial. You can bring in as many devices as you want. The URL is up at the top there, ecostructureit.com. So together with the CDW account team, Richard, myself, and our CSM team, we're all here as support as well if you need help with anything trial related, or if you wanted to see a more in-depth demo, we're more than happy to arrange that. So I wanted to kind of leave it here, but if you have any any need to further the conversation, whether it's about the software or any of the hardware that Richard spoke about, feel free to reach out to your CDW rep or Richard directly, and we can make sure that we get things off to the right start for you. So thanks everyone. I think I'm going to pass it over to CyberPower now.
So John, 1 second here.
Yeah.
Can you spend just a couple minutes? There are a few questions in the chat regarding the monitoring and the alarms. If
Oh
you could
yeah.
just
Yeah. Thank
answer
you.
those quickly.
I did not see the chat, so thanks for calling that out. Yeah. So to answer Philip's the first question, how does it monitor and collect alarms? Is it via SNMP? Correct. So yeah, it is through SNMP, and then we can also bring in devices that are Modbus TCP as well. That's our native protocol. So whether it's V1 or V3, that's how we monitor. And then Richard, I saw you added the chart there, and we have kind of an architecture diagram. So if there's any other questions, let us know about that. How can this data be made available to other applications on-prem cloud? If we wanted to perform advanced automation in another system based on data points, is this possible? So that's a great question. Yes, it is. So we have, as part of the platform, we have open APIs. So we have REST API keys that can be shared with other systems, and that can be either alarm data points or individual sensor data points from the devices themselves. So that's a very common question, but yeah, we can do so through API. And then question regarding the alarms, is it possible to configure constant repetitive, example, each 10 minutes, emails of push mobile notification if alarm hasn't been cleared or knowledge? Yes, so we do have a function within the platform that you can actually set up repeat alerts on. So you can set it to, repeat every 5 minutes until the alarm is cleared. And there's also an option to get an alert, a notification when an alarm is cleared as well. So that's all very, very customizable. One thing to note about that too is there are notification policies that you can set up. So if you have, let's say that your organization is split between East and West, and you have different teams handling East and West, you can go in and really not only restrict the visibility for users that are in the platform to only see what pertains to them, but also on the alarming side, make sure that the right groups of people are being notified for the right devices. So yeah, that's 100% supported, and those are great questions. So thanks for asking.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, yeah, John just barely touched the surface on the platform because of the time constraints. But if you do wish to want to have a one-on-one demo with John or anybody on his team, feel free to ask your account manager and we can set it up.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And I think I am passing it off to Jeff. Is that right?
That is correct. Thank you, John. Great job. I'll just go ahead and start sharing my screen here. All right, let me get my camera on. All right, can everybody see that? Should be
Yes, you're good.
Moving to the agenda here. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so thank you everybody for taking the time. I wanted to quickly note that we're pinch hitting for our sales support engineer that couldn't make it at this time. So if there are any technical questions that we're not able to address, please put them in the chat, or we'll have some time at the end to answer, but we'll definitely get back to you as quickly as possible. And just a quick introduction. My name is Jeff Backman. I am the Director of Sales for Canada. I've been with CyberPower for 15 years, managing our channel business in Canada. And on with me is Jesse DeMonico. He is the CDW channel account manager. So we are going to be talking about power protection and as it relates to the edge and edge computing, and tying that into some high density UPS solutions that we offer, and other products that fit into that space. And we're going to walk you through just the expectations of a free power assessment. This is something that we offer you at no cost. So just some key, benefits and details in and around that. And then we've thrown in some fun facts along the way as well too. So with that said, it looks like I'll turn it over to Jesse. It looks like we've got a little fun fact here for you now.
So just a quick question. Thank you, Jeff. If anyone remembers, when was Canada's biggest blackout? Was it July of 2000, August of 2003, May of 2007, or August of 2013? So the correct
Anybody?
answer.
We gotta let you let him answer.
Yeah, we'll give him a second if anyone does
Hold
remember.
on.
But
For some reason, my slides don't want to advance here.
2003.
that is correct. So it was August 14, 2003, to those of you who remember. Just wanted to touch on the fact that this all happened from a series of faults. It was caused by tree branches touching power lines in Ohio, which were then complicated by human error, software problems, equipment failures, and all of those led to the most widespread blackout in North American history. The blackout was caused by what they considered a software bug in the alarm control room at First Energy, which is based out of Ohio. Something that should have been manageable, a local blackout, a cascade into the collapse of basically most of the Northeast regional electricity distribution system. It was an outage that affected nearly 55 million people, including 10 million in Ontario for hours, days, or even weeks. It caused a loss of nearly 19 million hours of work in Ontario alone, a 2.3 billion drop in manufacturing deliveries, and a 0.7 decline in the Canadian GDP in a single month.
Wow, that's huge. And I guess that ties perfectly into our next slide, and that's the importance of power protection. Maybe as it relates to edge computing, but really any type of electrical equipment requires power protection to ensure uptime. Critical devices can fail under fluctuating power conditions like, dips, sags, brownouts. These unforeseen events can wreak havoc on networks and applications. They lead to downtime and lost productivity and revenue. So really the right power protection solution can, act as an insurance policy for your connected equipment. And, honestly, power protection is, often overlooked, and, it's an afterthought, when there is whether it's a blackout or, even a power event that, causes damage within an organization. So just to speak a little bit about edge computing, it's about processing data closer to where it's going to be generated to reduce latency. This market has grown huge over the years and estimated at 16 billion in 2023. And, with an average annual growth of 38%, we're looking at a $155 billion market in 2023. And, IoT and 5G, are driving a lot of this growth. But it's also shifted a big trend in, moving applications closer to the edge, or on premise. So this is increasing demand for smaller data centers and, infrastructure. So from the office to the edge, the need to, manage equipment and make sure it's running properly is essential. So front end and, back end key applications and equipment require UPS, PDUs, racks and, other power management solutions to make sure that those systems are running smoothly. Edge data centers or, micro data centers or on-premise data centers, these may require more scalable systems that have built-in redundancy, environmental monitoring and control. These may be, single phase or have three-phase requirements, but deploying these data centers at the edge, generally can cause unique challenges. Oftentimes they're trying to fit them into small data closets. They may be in high traffic environments or, other unorthodox environments where, space is a premium. So that ties into our high density UPS solution offering. So these are 5 kVA to 10 kVA online double conversion UPSs, where we have up to a 50% rack savings. So where you might see a traditional 2U UPS, I'm sorry, where you might see a traditional 4U UPS, we have a 2U option where you might see a 8U UPS. We have a 4U option. These also have the ability to add extended battery packs for additional runtime. They offer network and cloud and environmental monitoring. You might notice the little antenna on the card on the bottom. That is a wireless network monitoring card. That's something, pretty unique to CyberPower. So if you have an environment where there's no Ethernet and you need connectivity, you can utilize a wireless network card so we can manage those UPSs and PDUs within those spaces as well. We also have, short depth rack mount UPSs, other UPSs that are single U. These are generally designed to go into short depth or compact racks. May generally be for less critical requirements. Maybe they're great for routing and switching equipment. I think the big value here is that they're affordable, so you're able to put these into more places. This particular model is a pure sine wave UPS with full network management capabilities, and it's priced under $500. Again, make it just more affordable, and maybe there's more areas that need power protection. That this makes it a little more cost effective. And then we also have three-phase, our three-phase modular UPS systems. Come in, 20 kVA or 40 kVA chassis options. They have the ability to be mounted side by side, stacked on each other, or in a rack, again, adapting to these spaces, for edge data centers where, either space is limited or, we're going into these unorthodox environments. These units can also be set up in a parallel configuration to increase capacity up to 80 kVA. Just other edge power protection. We have our Smart App online UPS series, our Smart App sine waves. These are more like a family of line interactive UPS solutions, and then we do have our Smart App lithium based UPS series as well. And then I think we have roughly 130 different PDU options, anything from basic metered, monitored to switched ATS, metered by outlet and, maintenance bypass and 3-phase PDUs as well. Our power panel business software, it gives you the ability for, automated shutdowns, event notifications. We do support up to 1,000 nodes, in a centralized management platform through one pane of glass. That may have even grown, I think. I think we might even be beyond 1,000 nodes. We offer cloud support. We can monitor our competitors' UPS. So, similar to APC, we can pull in some of their products or Vertiv or Eaton. And, we support multitude of different environments, VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, etc. So that leads us to our next fun fact question. So I'll turn it over to Jesse here.
Yeah, I seem like I'm always coming in to talk about bad news, but per hour, how much does network downtime cost businesses? Is it 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, or 400,000? The correct answer is $300,000, which roughly translates to $5,600 per minute. This is according to an ITIC survey. 81% of the respondents said that in a single hour, it's a downtime cost of over $300,000. 70% of outages cost $100,000 or more, with 25% costing more than $1 million. These costs are based on a variety of factors like data loss or corruption, productivity losses, equipment damage, root cause detection, revenue loss, and even reputation and trust among the key stakeholders.
All right, very cool. Thanks, Jesse. So that brings us to our, free power assessment. So this is a tool that we offer at no charge to our customers, and would love for you guys to take advantage of it. So if there's interest, please, maybe make note in the chat, or you can reach out to Jesse or myself. But basically, what to consider, with the power assessment is, or I should say, when to consider maybe if you're having current infrastructure issues, you're looking to update your power equipment, maybe you're changing or adding locations, or just looking for a better power managed solution overall. We can help with an efficiency audit, or maybe just looking at, lithium versus lead acid batteries. What's the payback? Is there an ROI? Is it worth the upfront investment with the lithium solution? Some of the questions that we'll address during this process would be, what type of power solution is best for you? Is this a single phase or 3-phase power opportunity? Typically with 3-phase, we would have one of our techs provide a on-site survey or assessment, all the way, to being on site for the startup and the provisioning of these systems, as they're obviously a little bit more complicated. Is there an electrician required? What are your runtime goals? Based on, the load, you know, how much runtime could you expect within some of the product configurations that we can recommend? And then, you know, are there critical applications where we can go in and help you design, giving priority during the shutdown to, you know, certain applications over others? And then, you know, how do we plan for future growth? You know, making sure that there's room for expansion. What to expect, you know, within the report, you know, you'll get detailed equipment recommendations, you know, total load, critical load, runtime charts. You know, we'll also include the different plug types. So, you know, is it 10, 20, 30 amp, twist lock plugs, you know, etc. And then also, you know, as mentioned, make sure we're planning for continued growth down the line. You know, so that leads us to the end of our presentation. I think we did add another little thank you here. I'll let you read that on your own, and then we can, you know, open it up to questions now, and whether it relates to CDW, CyberPower, or APC. You know, I think we can open it up to questions or put some questions in the chat. I don't know, Jesse, did you notice any questions that may have been in the chat?
None have
that
come
we
in
can
through the
address?
chat.
All right. Again, I mean, you know, we appreciate the time. You know, if there are questions, you know, for CDW or for us, you know, we'll just, you know, I'll stop sharing and we can open it up at this time here. All right.
Okay, so if there's no
Anyone?
questions, I think we're good to close it out here. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you very much.